Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. Long since time to get on with my reviews of Outer Range. I know it's been kind of a light week, but I've been on vacation. So this is a light spoiler review. So I'll go over some initial thoughts on this episode. And then in the following episode review, I'll open up with full spoiler comments just to finish off some of my thoughts. Okay? And I'll obviously open up this episode with full spoiler follow-ups to last episode. Because there's a new show, I'm trying not to just, spoil the episode every single review here. So let's start with this. I love the scenes with Sheriff Joyhawk. She was, this episode, she was the star of this episode. Okay? Our investigations into the events surrounding Trevor Tillerson's death are excellent in terms of being well written, well acted, well directed. The timing was great. There were no crazy, egregious, this wouldn't really happen in real life moments or anything like that. Even the disruptions to our plan, like she wants to have the deputy speak to Rep before he found out that Trevor's body had been discovered. The deputy hesitated initially, but that came across natural, not sort of plot contrivance, because I think he knew that he thought his boss thought that Rhett was guilty of killing Trevor, but I don't think he believed it or he could believe it. So I think the character was suffering from cognitive dissonance, and the actor portrayed it very well. And then Rhett was not answering the phone several times makes sense because Rhett's honestly, Rhett and Perry are kind of stupid. Okay, I mean I'm not saying they're incapable or whatever, but if you watch their depiction in these episodes, they're not portrayed as great thinkers for various reasons. So neither would have the instinctive understanding that, well, we're covering up a murder here. Maybe we should communicate a bit more with our conspiracy people. So, and then secondly, there's been a growing thing that Rhett and Perry have had some sort of antagonism going on. Whether it could be brotherly rivalry or long-standing issues, we don't know. But there's been a growing sense for the episodes to have that. Other events, this is a follow-up to the issue with the assessor and the 300 acres of land in dispute. Royal blatantly walks in and accuses the assessor of being bribed, and the actor's reaction, the way the actor portrayed the reaction tells me he was indeed bribed. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Now, to be mildly critical on this one, the legal proceedings over the land would uncover shenanigans like that, since objective, independent analysis of the assessment would expose Carl's actions. Carl is the assessor. Now, Royal threatening the assessor it's a welcome reinforcement that this is an actual Western. This isn't just some sort of supernatural show where it has Western themes where you go outside the law and you enforce with your will, so to speak, and the threat of the gun, so to speak. That's part of the Western thing. They keep ramping up Wayne Tillerman being batshit crazy on some level. I hope that goes somewhere. Either they explain it or he just goes off the rails on the crazy train. And lastly, we keep getting a growing sense that Royal is drawn to the void, and it's affecting his way of thinking. Like why he chose to attack Wayne Tillerman, the only explanation that's valid of the way things are written is that the void's influenced him. It's only one production note. This episode, so we're moving on to now episode 5, okay? That was my final thoughts on episode 4 with the full spoiler, so you could, not be spoiled on it. So now we're talking about episode 5. We're doing a production of episode 5. This episode, it's one of those masterful uses of music in TV episode ever. It's comparable to the best episode of Supernatural in that regard. Every particular song and background sounds were all perfectly picked and perfectly timed. That's all I'm going to say on that, because Now to the plot. Again, the spoiler, safe review. Previous episodes of Outer Range are pretty dense, but they had a pattern where they'd start building up slow, and it hit a crescendo at the end. Okay, this episode entirely different. The density is there, but things happen much faster. It's more like a sine wave. It constantly hits the beat, but it picks up. But so a sine wave looks like this, right? I would call them up on the screen, but I'm lame, right? It's basically a periodic wave that goes up and down like a hill So this one is more like a poly. I forgot the word for it. It's been too long since I did real math, but it starts out like this: a peak and a valley, but each peak keeps getting higher and higher. So the plot is building, but you're constantly getting small driving points of powerful plot. And the music, as I mentioned, highlights each one very well. Okay. Now, another thing I finally kind of noticed on this show is they seem to be doing a sort of kind of backdoor comparison and contrasting between the Tillerman boys and the Abbott's boys, and Wayne Tillerman's approach to fatherhood and Royal Abbott's approach to fatherhood. I mean, what we see so far, Royal got 2 hardworking sons who maybe are not that bright. Wayne got one son who's very bright, and the other who seems very kind, but he's still pretty bright. We can't decide on Trevor for obvious reasons, but the Tillerman boys don't seem very close to their dad, whereas the Abbott boys do. So that's what I've gotten so far, but there seems to be something going on with like comparing fatherhood and brotherhood and sonhood and all with those characters. Cecilia also goes quite the journey in this episode, not so much as we get a resolution, but in the sense that we get a much better idea of who she is and what makes her tick. I'll have some comments on that in the next one, in the spoiler section. In large part because of the well-timed use of music, this is pretty much my favorite episode of the show ever. Like, I mean, it's only 5 episodes, so you know, but it's a pretty good episode. As I said, it reminded me of some of the best Supernatural episodes. Now, given we only have 3 episodes left now, we have to see which path this show is on. Is on the path to Fringe, where it all eventually pays off. That doesn't mean you get a full conclusion at the end of the season, but there should be payoffs to all these plot lines within this season, even if some are left dangling for next season or things are established as a result of that. Okay? Or is it going on the path of the Lost in the X-Files, where the journey is great, lots of individual great episodes, but at the end, nothing ever really gets explained or resolved, and you're just like, well, what's up, you know? And they'd say, come back next season, we'll do more. But they just repeat the same issue. Comment down below if you have any questions for me or about this video. Please share your thoughts. Share this video if you enjoyed it. Like if you like. Dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unreal 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.